accounting is really, really important. Okay, a lot of accounting has its reputation as a back office, bean counting, introverted profession, but it's actually the language of business, right? So businesses communicate internally, they communicate with investors, with shareholders, with the markets through a language. That language is accounting.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley, in partnership with Lomitech, and sponsored by Homeward Ventures, Hippo Insurance, Upwest, Hillel at Stanford, Leap, and Birthright Excel, and in media partnership with CTech. Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. I'm being joined today by Isaac Heller, CEO of Trullion, an AI-powered SaaS platform that automates financial workflows for CFOs, accountants, and auditors. Trullion unifies the unstructured and structured worlds of accounting by reading PDFs and Excel and translating them into financial workflows such as lease accounting and revenue recognition. Isaac Heller, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders, all the way from Dallas, Texas. How are you?
Good. I mean, usually it's all the way from Israel, but I'm in Dallas, Texas this week.
I love it. And so I'm thankful to be catching you in Dallas, Texas. And it's adding to the globalization of the show. Today, you're thinking through rigorously this idea of modern accounting and where we're at, and with your startup Trullion. But you have a really interesting background leading up to it. Starting all the way from being an English teacher in China to being in Sabre Corporation, VP at Visual Lease, a member of the Forbes Technology Council, and so a lot of different things that I didn't even touch on. But what I'm really curious to hear here is people's journeys, what really motivates them, and how they end up coming to start what they start. And so maybe you can go back a little bit in time and tell me more briefly about yourself and how you end up deciding to work on modern accounting.
This is a 20-minute podcast. So basically, look, I studied history at the University of Texas. I asked a history teacher, what should I do after college? I had an interview lined up for Dell Sales in Austin, Texas. It was 2007. He said, you should go to a hyper-growth economy and just live there. And so I looked up China. China was booming right then. It was 2007, and I went and taught English in China. I went there. Spent a year there teaching English. I actually played a little bit of poker in Macau. It was quite a year. And then, I went into the travel industry. I knew I liked two things, travel and basketball. So I found a travel agency that did basketball tours. And I went around the world with college basketball teams, both men's and women's, from Duke to North Carolina to Princeton. I was in Australia. I was in Senegal. I was in Brazil with these teams. Wow. And had a great time. And then one day I was looking over the shoulder. It was really a travel agency. That's what it was. And I was looking over the shoulder at one of the travel agents, and they were working on this kind of blue screen. It looked like it was MS-DOS, if you can go that far back. And I said, what's that? They said, that's the technology we use. Turned out that company was called Sabre, and that was a travel technology company that was down the street in Southlake, Texas. So I said, well, that seems interesting. So I knew I liked travel, but then I ended up in technology. And then once I was in travel technology, this is Sabre. Sabre owned Travelocity, did a lot of work with Expedia, and then IPO'd in 2014. So I was part of that. And
incredible.
Then I realized, well, I don't just love travel, I love technology. Okay, so that got me into technology. At the same time, I did an MBA. My history degree wasn't paying the bills, and so I thought I'd learn some business. I fell in love with accounting. I loved the logic. I loved the theory of it, and just kept running into huge accounting projects in what's called revenue recognition and lease accounting. I ran a product team in the travel industry that did revenue accounting for airlines, which is a crazy complex accounting world. And so I guess you could say the accounting gods were kind of keeping me close. And after that, after seeing some cool opportunities, feeling very passionate about a specific industry, went off and founded the company with a great partner and a great team, and that's where we are today.
So accounting, what is your understanding of accounting, and how does it lead to Trullion?
Okay, first of all, accounting is really, really important. Okay, a lot of accounting has its reputation as a back office, bean counting, introverted profession, but it's actually the language of business, right? So businesses communicate internally, they communicate with investors, with shareholders, with the markets through a language. That language is accounting. So, first of all, that's pretty interesting, right? Second of all, the industry itself, the way it's set up, is a little bit antiquated. So there's legacy silos.
Mm-hmm.
When you audit a company, when you do a financial audit, you might be sampling one out of 1,000 contracts or transactions just to provide your evidence that it's so and so audited. So you have a really important industry, really big opportunity to improve and innovate within the area, and decided to have some fun.
So you've been having fun over the last 2 years, and as you're starting Trullion, what are some of the guiding principles that you're thinking through when modernizing the accounting world?
Well, I think it starts with the name, right? So Trullion is truth in millions. It means something. It means something to me personally. It means something to our company. And we're founded on these principles of accuracy and transparency, right? So that's what people pay for. Some industries they pay for increased revenue or reduced costs. In accounting, the value is transparency and accuracy, and that guides us every day in what we do.
And so how does that actually translate into, first of all, what does the product actually do? And then how does accuracy and transparency translate into this product?
Okay, so Trullion itself takes unstructured data. So think about documents in Excel, and it extracts it automatically and generates financial workflows. These are the workflows
Mm-hmm.
that people use to do their day-to-day accounting. For example, lease accounting, revenue recognition. These are critical workflows to get financial reporting accurate. And so what's unique is that Trullion connects it with the source data. So you could take a PDF and then do a workflow and bring it to the final entry. Now that's cool. That could save a controller a lot of time. But what's interesting is now that the source data is connected with financial entry, their auditor or accounting partner can come in and see the entry all the way back to the source data, right? That creates a new paradigm within the industry, right? And why is that more accurate? Well, you have the entire audit trail at your fingertips. So before, you're a CFO or controller, and you're doing a lot of these processes in a spreadsheet, okay, or a disconnected system. And then once a month or once a year, you're pushing that into a bigger system like an ERP, right? This is anything from QuickBooks to SAP. And and then what happens is that when an auditor comes in, they have to look into that big system. They have to take a few samples. They have to swim into that spreadsheet. From that spreadsheet, they have to swim back into source data, source documents. Hey, who put this in? Who approved it? Where'd they get the data from? With Trullion, you have that all in one unified workflow.
Okay, and so what are some of the personas that are relevant for products like these? And my knowledge of accounting is so minimal, so I'm going to be asking a lot of these questions.
Well, it's interesting. There's a lot of people who, look, Michael, you live in the hyper growth startup world, right? Even
Right.
Hippo, where you're working, I'm sure it was just like a rocket ship, right? Straight to the
Mm-hmm.
moon. And so a lot of people that work in these worlds, that's more the startup where accounting isn't as important. We're coming up with arbitrary valuations and metrics based on a lot of different factors. But in the accounting world and the audited world, these things really matter. So that's the world that we play in. Now, who does that translate to? It's called a controller, right? It's a corporate controller, someone who is strictly in charge of financial reporting and compliance for the organization. Those are our customers. Those are our innovators, and that's who we work with.
Now, obviously, we started the conversation by talking about how there's a lot of incumbents and a lot of these legacy systems, and you're coming and you're modernizing it. But the other aspect of what you're saying is that there's a lot of trust that needs to be maintained and that needs to be upheld with the customers, and you're dealing obviously with sensitive data and with financial reporting. So how do you go as a startup and go and attempt to build trust that is at least as great as those incumbents?
Wow. Look, I don't think that we can be greater than the incumbents in terms of trust. So meaning the people that we work with is SAP and Oracle and Ernst and Young and PwC and Deloitte. Like that's our world, right? We can't be better than them.
Right.
Those are the iconic brands, and those are the thought leaders in this industries. What we can do is we can complement them, right? So in this space, you have new regulations that come in, for example, lease accounting and revenue recognition. And those providers may not have an adequate solution for that, right? And it may be done in spreadsheets outside of their workflow, whether it's SAP or a big four company. And so what we can do is we can fill in that gap with automation. And how do they get comfortable with us? Well, look, we're a bunch of CPAs and product experts. I lived through revenue recognition. I lived through lease accounting standards. The people that we hire, they've lived through this as well. So the first thing we do is we make sure that the accounting is bulletproof and accurate. We're not one of these startups that puts out an MVP and then, kind of teases it out, right? We paid with our angel money, we paid for a KPMG SOC 1 and SOC 2 report. That's like the thing that everything's avoiding. So, for us, this is our world. We invest in compliance and accuracy from day one.
Right. Now, I'm curious to hear the breaking into the market. So, anytime I get to meet a company that is dealing with an age old industry that has a lot of traditional players and that is innovating at a different rate. How do you actually go about getting people involved in this? I understand the building the trust aspect, but getting them to actually request a demo, to actually go through the pipeline and to see the value of your AI powered system.
Okay, well, first of all, in all of these industries, there's this like secret, unspoken club or like underbelly of personas who want innovation. They desperately crave innovation. Okay, and it's not unique to our space, it's every single space. So how did we get our first few customers? We took out a LinkedIn ad and we said AI-powered, lease accounting, right? And from there, we had these controllers in Australia and Europe and Brazil, everywhere, who requested a demo. And we said, whoa, okay, well, they're interested. And they said, yeah, well, we're doing this in spreadsheets and this looks really interesting. And then we offered to let them put a couple of contracts in our system. We said, just upload your contracts into our system, and we'll give you the report that we put out. And so they take that report back and they match it against their spreadsheet and they say, whoa, wait a minute, this is doing it. And that's it. So they find out about it and they're a little bit hesitant. Okay, I didn't hear about this from my accounting partner, but then they test it, then they like it. And these are clients that are signing multi-year deals with us, right? We're not an MVP, we're not a beta. These are people that are passing big four audits with us at this point.
Right. So if you had to go down the line 2-3 years, where's Trullion in the space? Where's the modern accounting in general?
Well, I think it's more dynamic, right? So it's more event-driven, workflow-based. I think that accounting is stuck between static repositories, right, which might be a legacy ERP system, and really, really strong, incredible accounting firms, but they're services-oriented, right? And so neither of those two pillars, iconic pillars of this ecosystem, can create digital or dynamic workflows, right? So what that means is we can take unstructured data, we can connect it with a financial workflow, layer on reporting, analytics, 360-degree audit trail. When I think about Trullion, we're the single source of truth, right? We want to continue to play in these areas where those providers don't adequately address and connect some of these silos for our clients.
Right. Now, is this really where your passion lies in accounting? Growing up, is this did you understand that this is what you want to be doing? This is going to be your entrepreneurial journey?
I don't know. It's funny. I'm sitting in Dallas right now. This room is a home office now post COVID, but this is actually the room that I grew up in. And I used to collect trading cards. I used to collect basketball and football and baseball cards. And I would sell them on eBay. I would buy big boxes. I would break them apart. I would get a bunch of packaging supplies sent to our house. And I was like one of the early kind of eBay people. So looking back, I guess I was kind of an entrepreneur, but I worked throughout corporate America. I worked in private equity backed companies, so I had my own journey. I never did my own thing. The common theme, I would say, like if you look back at my career, is truth seeking. Okay. Also, my personal passion, like it's truth seeking. I was one of these guys who my mom would say, Isaac, that's not fair. Life's not fair. And I would say, well, I'm going to fix that, or I'm going to make sure that's fair. I'm going to make sure that's right. Right. So I wouldn't accept that for an answer. So when I think about accounting, accounting is about transparency and accuracy. So when I see these big audit issues, like a company like Wirecard, for example, in Germany, there was a $2 billion cash asset that was missed by the auditors for repeated years that just didn't exist. Okay. And my friend's grandmother had that stock in her pension portfolio. She's very
Wow.
modest, middle class. So for me, like I actually get fire out of that. I don't know if anyone else does, but like that motivates me, that pumps me up. And I really see this truth seeking theme throughout my personal and professional life.
Wow, very, very cool. Isaac, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your journey with me. I really
Yeah,
appreciate
sure.
it. I have a few more questions, a few more small questions about you, and I want to take you back to your childhood. As you're in your childhood, I guess room and house. What really fascinated you besides eBay? What really, drove your curiosity? Middle school, high school. What do you remember?
Mm. Oh, ooh, good one. Okay. I mean, what drove my curiosity? Let's say anything new. Okay. I was the guy with like the first MP3 player, all the little things, anything new. Um, Anything related to basketball really drove me. And lastly, like anything competitive. I mean, I remember like having decathlons with my friends where we would line up like 10 different sports, everything from chess to NFL Blitz on Nintendo 64. And we would just put a
Wow,
big board up and just go to town, for the medal.
amazing. And what inspires you today in your daily life?
Um, I mean, my family, I've got a wife and two daughters, and so that inspires me. I want to make it good for them, and I want to kind of infuse the values I get from the home into the professional world, and the things I learned from the professional or from a leadership perspective. I want to help, bring those into the home. And that's it. Like we, as a fast growing startup, like we have the opportunity to like make these new friendships and open up roles for other people and build partnerships. And our company, like we really feel that as like a family as well. So that motivates me to have these personal relationships through the professional vessel.
Very, very cool. And Isaac, what are three words that you would use to describe yourself?
Energized, curious, and relentless.
I love it. Isaac, thank you very, very much. Best of luck with Trullion. Thank you for
Thank you.
sharing this time with me. I
Okay.
appreciate it very much.
All right. Okay.
Thank
Be
you.
well. Thanks, Michael.